Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're going to be taking a deep dive into the world of TikTok.
Oh, yeah.
But, and I say this every time, not for the dances or
Right.
the trends or anything like that.
No.
Things are getting pretty serious for TikTok,
Yeah, they are.
especially up north.
Especially in Canada.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we've got this breaking news article
Oh, wow.
from CTV News dated November 6th, 2024.
Okay.
So literally just out today.
Wow.
It's called Canada Orders Windup of TikTok's Canadian Business App Access to Continue.
Interesting.
So what they're saying is
Yeah.
they want TikTok to
Yeah.
stop doing business in
Yeah,
Canada.
dissolve their business.
But Canadians can still use the app.
Yeah.
It's kind of a head scratcher, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a fascinating development. It kind of seems like they're trying to walk this really fine line.
Oh yeah.
They want to address the security concerns,
Uh-huh.
but they don't want to
Yeah.
totally alienate all the TikTok users.
Start a riot.
Yeah, exactly. Like a full-blown TikTok rebellion.
Yeah.
I mean, it's super popular.
Yeah, it is.
What's really interesting to me is this whole thing about ByteDance.
Oh yeah, the article mentions ByteDance establishing TikTok Technology Canada Inc. To be honest with you, that whole part kind of went over my head. I don't really know what.
So ByteDance is the parent company of TikTok.
Oh, okay.
So it seems like what Canada is really concerned about is how the data is being handled
Okay.
within Canada.
So not even just data that's going back to China.
Yeah, yeah, not even just that. It's a whole other level of,
Right.
control and access that's happening right there.
On Canadian soil.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it makes you wonder why now? Why are they doing this years after ByteDance, set up shop in Canada?
Yeah, this is what I was thinking. The article really doesn't say
Oh,
why
right.
they're doing this.
It doesn't get into the evidence.
Pronounce the evidence.
Yeah, it's kind of frustrating, right?
It's a total mystery.
Yeah, we're left to just speculate
Yeah.
about what kind of information they might have uncovered that we just don't know.
Yeah, what do they know that we don't?
Right,
It's
exactly.
a little scary.
I mean, this kind of stuff happens a lot with national security issues.
Yeah, that's true.
But it does make you think,
It really does.
It really does.
And it's not like this is the first time that TikTok has been
Right.
on the chopping block when it comes to privacy and security.
At all.
They've been on the radar of experts for years now.
Yeah, for years.
So, I mean, what is it about TikTok that's so
Well, I think a lot of it stems from China's national security laws.
Yeah.
So basically, these laws can force any company
Mm-hmm.
that's operating in China
Okay.
to assist with intelligence gathering,
Oh, wow.
which obviously raises some red flags,
Yeah.
About the potential for them to access user data.
Yeah.
Even if TikTok is saying, we're protecting your privacy.
It's like this tension that never goes away.
It's always there.
It's like they say one thing, but then you're like,
Yeah, you never really know.
are they doing something else?
Right, you just don't know.
I remember when the Canadian government was like,
Yeah.
all right, no more TikTok on government devices.
Yeah,
That was last year.
that was a big one.
And then there was that whole thing in the U.S.
Oh, yeah.
where the House of Representatives passed that bill
Mm-hmm.
to potentially ban TikTok completely.
Yeah, unless it's sold off.
Unless it was sold off, yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And all this stuff with Canada is happening right after the U.S. presidential election.
Yeah, the timing's interesting.
Do you think that's just a coincidence? Or
I don't know.
what's going on?
It's hard not to, wonder if it might embolden the U.S. to,
To do something.
to take a harder stance against TikTok.
Yeah. Because they've already shown that they're willing to
Right, they have.
consider some pretty drastic measures.
They have.
Feels like we're on the edge of something big here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It does feel like something's going to happen.
What do you think? Well, I mean, one thing that really stands out to me is that Canada's not usually super assertive on the world stage,
Yeah, they're pretty chill.
and for them to come out and
Yeah.
be like, we're doing
We're
this.
shutting this down?
Yeah, I mean, could this signal
Yeah.
a bigger change?
A global
Yeah, like how other governments
still going to approach.
yeah, countries with ties to China. That's a really good point.
Especially when it comes to security,
Especially security. Yeah.
It's definitely something to watch,
Oh, yeah. And the article also mentions that TikTok's going to fight this.
Oh, really?
They're going to challenge it in court.
Wow.
So, this legal battle could be huge, right?
Yeah, I mean,
It could determine the future of TikTok,
huge implications.
not just in Canada, but
Worldwide.
everywhere. That's crazy.
It really is.
It's a really big deal.
It is a big deal.
I mean, this case could set a precedent for how governments are going to deal with this whole
Yeah.
balancing act, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Between national security and these global tech giants.
It's a really tough issue.
With all that power?
Yeah. And there are no easy answers.
Yeah, no easy answers.
Yeah.
Makes you think, like, what about us?
What about the users?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what do we really know about what's happening with our data?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the question everyone needs to be asking.
When we're using these apps.
Right.
It's crazy.
It is crazy.
It really makes you think.
It really does.
I'm curious to hear your thoughts on where this is all headed.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what's the big picture?
Okay.
We'll delve into that and more right after this.
So before the break, we were talking about how Canada is basically giving TikTok the boot.
Yeah. It's a huge move.
It is.
And I'm still trying to, like, wrap my head around the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's like, on the one hand, they're like,
Yeah.
get out of here.
Yeah, you're out of here.
But then on the other hand, they're like,
You can still use the app, though.
but you guys can still use it. Like, what?
It's really
It
strange.
seems a little contradictory, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think we have to remember that, like, governments have to think about
A lot of things.
so many different things.
When they make decisions.
Yeah, it's not just like a simple
Right.
yes or no.
Like flipping a switch or something.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like, what kind of things are they thinking about?
Well, one big one is public opinion.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Like TikTok is super popular.
Especially with younger people.
Yeah, especially with younger people.
All the kids are using it.
Exactly. And if they just like banned it outright,
Oh, yeah.
there would be a huge backlash.
Yeah, for sure.
And not just from like the users,
yeah.
but also potentially from TikTok itself.
Oh, interesting.
They might sue,
Oh, wow.
you know? So governments have to be really careful about
The consequence
yeah, like the political and the social consequence
of what they do.
of their decisions.
So they're trying to, like, walk this tightrope
Yeah.
between, addressing the security risks,
Right.
but also not, like,
Starting a war with
Yeah.
TikTok.
or, like, causing this huge PR nightmare.
Exactly. They're trying to mitigate the risk
Yeah.
without like resorting to censorship.
Got it.
It's tricky.
It's a tough spot to be in.
It really is.
But let's be real for a second.
Okay.
Like, a big part of this whole thing is China.
Right.
The article even mentions concerns about ByteDance being subject to,
Oh, yeah, those national security laws?
China's national security laws.
Those are a major sticking point.
So, like, what do those laws actually say?
Basically, they give the Chinese government the power to force companies that are
Mhm.
operating in China, like ByteDance,
Right.
to hand over user data if they say it's a matter of national security.
Oh, wow. So even if TikTok is like,
Right.
we promise we're protecting your data,
They could just come in.
China could just be like,
Yeah, and be like, give it to us.
nope, we need that.
Exactly.
That's kind of scary.
It is a little unsettling. Like,
Yeah.
it brings up a lot of questions about,
Privacy.
yeah, about data privacy and, like,
How much control we really have.
yeah, like, do we really have any control over our information when we're using these platforms?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
It's like we're leaving these little digital footprints everywhere we go,
Right.
and we don't even know who's picking them up.
Exactly.
And this whole TikTok thing is like,
Really puts a spotlight on that whole issue.
yeah, it really brings it to the forefront.
It does.
And the timing of this whole thing is pretty wild.
The timing is interesting for sure.
It comes right after the U.S. presidential election.
Yeah, right on the heels of that.
Do you think that's just a coincidence?
I don't know. It's hard to say.
Or is there something more going on here?
It makes you wonder if there might be some connection.
Do you think this could, like, influence how the new administration...
Oh, totally.
Handles TikTok.
Yeah, for sure. I think it adds another layer of complexity to the situation.
Because remember, the U.S. House of Representatives already passed that bill
Oh, yeah.
that could, like, ban TikTok in the U.S.,
Yeah.
but it hasn't been, like, fully put into action yet.
Right. It hasn't been enacted yet.
Maybe this is the thing that will, like, push the new president to be like,
Yeah, to make a decision.
all right, we got to do something.
Yeah, like, this is it. We got to make a move.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's definitely possible. I think this whole situation in Canada could give U.S. lawmakers the push they need
Yeah.
to take action. It could even encourage other countries to rethink their policies about TikTok.
Wow.
You know, this could be a big turning point in
Yeah.
how we think about data security and, like,
Yeah.
the influence of these tech companies that have ties to certain governments.
Wow, that's a big picture perspective.
It is. It's a big deal.
But what about, like, the average TikTok user?
Right. What about them?
What does this mean for them?
Good question.
Yeah. In Canada and in the U.S.,
Yeah.
like, what should people be thinking about right now?
Well, I think the most important thing is to be aware of the risks.
Okay.
You know, when you're using TikTok, there is a chance
Yeah.
however small, that your data could be accessed
Uh-huh.
by someone that you might not be so comfortable with,
Right.
even if TikTok says they're protecting it.
It's kind of like we're taking a leap of faith
Yeah,
when we use these apps.
it is a leap of faith.
We're trusting that they're going to handle our data responsibly.
You're trusting the companies and you're trusting the governments
Hey, the
that they might be beholden to.
Yeah.
It's a lot of trust.
A lot of trust.
And I think this situation really highlights how important it is
Be
to
careful.
be careful and make informed choices about
Yeah.
which platforms you're using and what information you're sharing.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh.
It makes you wonder if this could be like
Yeah.
a turning point in our relationship with social media.
Could this be the thing that makes people think twice before they download the latest app
Yeah.
or share all their personal details?
Maybe it's a wake-up call.
Yeah, maybe it's a wake-up call.
Like, we need to be having a bigger conversation about data, privacy, and all this stuff.
Absolutely. It's a conversation that we all need to be having.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's not going to go away.
It's only going to get more important as technology keeps developing.
It's only going to get bigger.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
All right, so we've been talking about all this stuff with TikTok, and
Yeah.
it seems like things are getting pretty serious,
They really are.
especially with Canada kind of dropping the hammer.
Yeah. And who knows? Maybe the U.S. is going to follow suit.
Right. It makes you think, like, what if other countries start doing the same thing?
It's definitely a possibility.
Especially those who have, those same concerns about data and certain governments,
Exactly.
It could be like a domino effect, right?
Yeah, it really could. This case with Canada could totally set a precedent
Oh, yeah.
for how other countries deal with not just TikTok,
Right.
but other social media platforms too that have ties to,
Governments that are a little...
a little questionable.
exactly.
It could change the whole game.
Yeah, it's a big deal. And it's not just about governments either.
Right.
The article mentions that TikTok is saying that this whole shutdown thing
Uh-huh.
could cost hundreds of Canadian jobs.
Wow, that's a lot of people.
So there's like a real economic impact here too, right?
Absolutely.
It's not just about data, it's about people's livelihoods.
Exactly. It's real people's jobs, and it's businesses that rely on TikTok too.
Oh yeah, true. For like marketing and stuff.
Yeah, for reaching their customers. There are a lot of people who could be affected by this.
Yeah, it's crazy how much these tech platforms are like
I know, right?
woven into our lives and our economy.
If there were.
It's not just as simple as like get rid of it
Yeah.
and that's it.
Right. There are consequences.
There's a whole ecosystem built around these platforms.
Right.
Like all those creators and influencers and small businesses.
Yeah, they depend on these platforms to make a living.
It's their whole world,
It really is.
So what happens to them if TikTok just disappears?
Yeah. It's a tough question. It makes you wonder if we need, like, stricter rules
Uh-huh.
and better ways to protect people.
Yeah, like the users and the workers.
Yeah, and the businesses, too.
It feels like we're at this, like, crossroads,
We really are.
with how we use social media and how it's controlled.
Yeah, it's a turning point for sure.
Well, this has been a really eye-opening conversation.
Yeah, it has.
It's given me a lot to think about, that's for sure.
Me too.
So any final thoughts for our listeners?
I think the biggest thing is just to be aware,
Okay.
Like, don't just take things at face value. Do your own research, ask questions.
Yeah, be informed.
Exactly.
Mm,
And be careful about what you share online.
that's a good point.
You have more power than you think.
Yeah, we can't just be passive about this stuff.
Right. We have to demand more transparency from these companies and from our governments.
Totally.
This is just the beginning of the conversation,
Yeah, it's only going to get bigger from here.
Exactly.
Well, that's about all the time we have for today.
Okay.
We hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of TikTok.
Yeah. It's a wild one.
It is a wild one. And thanks for joining us.